Hi, folks. Hello, everyone. This is Venkatesh Chaturvedi from Samagr. I would request that if you can call your team members also to join on to the call, and we'll be starting in say the next 2 3 minutes. And I would give time to everyone to put on their videos with their college background, if possible, so that we know which college you guys are representing, and we'll also then have a very interactive session with all of you being able to converse with us as time progresses. All right, folks. So quickly, yeah, great people from I am Rachi. I see you. I see people. Okay, okay. I just see I am Rachi, folks. Till now, I also see I am Trichy coming in with their videos on, folks. I would love to gamify it, but because of dearth of time, let's quickly get started with all of you just switching on your videos so that we can see all of your bright faces, and we'll quickly start in the next 2 3 minutes. All right, so I am Raipur is also there. All right, perfect, great. So, folks, if you have if
Oh,
you
yeah.
can you quickly ensure that your videos are on and your audio is muted currently, because we wouldn't want any kind of a disturbance on the call as we take this session ahead. And secondly, if your friends are not there yet, I would
मैं
request
करूँगा.
quickly share this meeting link to your batchmates who you think are also participating in TGC, or if they are even fence sitters and are confused, this is the right place to be, so that they can know more about the governance challenge and address any questions and queries about the program. I mean, about the competition, as well as about the problem statement, right? Perfect. So I see folks from different campuses, the IFT also coming into the mix now. Great, awesome, folks. Good to see about, I think we have about 100 plus people already on the call and a few more to join in. It's about 5:58. We should get
कर
started in the
लीजिए
next couple
प्लीज.
of minutes. A quick request, everyone, please ensure that you are on mute as soon as you enter the call. And when we open up the floor for question and answers, that is the best time for you to unmute yourself and ask questions.
Can anticipate and expect once you join Deloitte.
Yes. I also see that probably a Deloitte a pre-placement talk might be happening in the background in some of the colleges. I totally understand there are multiple sessions and events that might be happening. In fact, I and Ankit are currently at ISB Mohali campus for a pre-placement talk that we are going to give after about 1.5 hours. But really, wonderful to see so many campuses joining us live for this particular session. And I would request quickly that if you can, ask your friends and your, other team members who are participating in TGC, or even if they just want to know about TGC, to join in quickly. Right, so I think we'll give about a 60-second, on the clock, and then we can get started with quick introductions from all the people, present from Samagra's team, and the organizing team of the Governance Challenge. And then we'll get started with what we have in plan, followed by a lot of question and answers that I'm sure a lot of you have in your mind.
Exactly. मतलब
All right, so before we get started, I would quickly want if you can just on the chat put the college that you guys are coming from, so that we just get to know the list of different colleges that people are here joining us from. So I already see I am Raipur and I am Ranchi. Okay, I'm Ranchi, IIFT Delhi. Trichy is there, Bitsom. All right, wonderful. Top three podium finishes from last year. Okay, then we have people from SPP, IIT Delhi. All right, Irma, I'm Kashipur. NMIMS, right? We had the session a few days back. I am Ghaziabad. IMT Ghaziabad. We basically had a session on 26th last month. Great. So SPGen, IMK. Okay, we have representation from IIT Kharagpur as well. VG Som.
अभी नाम ले ले.
Great. Yes.
Venkatesh, you are on mute.
Yes. So folks, let's get started now. All right. Perfect. Great. So I think we are at the time to begin. Let me quickly introduce myself and then I'll quickly hand it over to other colleagues of mine. Myself, Venkatesh Chaturvedi. I am a senior consultant at Samagra, working in the CEO's office, handling Sushasan the podcast, recruitments, and the governance challenge case competition. I am a graduate from IIT Patna in terms of BTech, and then subsequently did my MBA from ISB Hyderabad before joining Samagra, and have been here for the last 2 years. I'll hand it over to my colleague Pooja for her introduction.
Hi everyone. It's so good to see you all here. I'm Pooja, working as a senior process associate and Samagra. So I have total 4+ years of experience in HR domain, and I have almost completed 1.5 years with Samagra. So over to Sagar for his introduction.
Hi everyone, good evening. Myself Sagar, and I am working as a consultant in Samagra. I have been associated with Samagra for last 2 years, and so good to see you all here and looking for a engaged discussion. And I hand it over to Simran from here.
Hi everyone, I'm Simran from Samagra. I'm an associate here and I'm working as part of the organizing committee for the governance challenge. So great to see the enthusiastic participation from everyone. I'll hand over to Sakshi to also introduce herself.
Thanks, Simran. Hi, everyone. My name is Sakshi, and I'm working as a consultant in the org development team at Samagra. It's been almost an year for me now with Samagra, but I have a prior experience of around 9 years working in HR domain. Really excited to have this interaction with all of you. Looking forward to the interesting questions. Thank you. And I'll hand it over to Ankit now.
Thanks, Sakshi. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Ankit Goyal. I'm a vice president at Samagra, and I'm leading the Governance Challenge 2024. So very, very excited to have all of you guys here today. Let me quickly get started. What we plan to do essentially is there are a few things that we want to bring to all of your notice. So we want to do a small presentation before we start taking questions from all of you. So let me get started with this. I hope my screen is visible. Venkatesh, if you could confirm.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. So the Governance Challenge 2024 is the third edition of this competition. This is organized by Samagra, the organization that I represent, and I'll talk more about it. We have two supporting partners, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Vedis Foundation, right? And before we begin, let me introduce you to the organization that we are a part of, which is Samagra. The organization is a mission-driven governance consulting firm, and we've been in operation now for the last 11.5 years. And there's a single mission that the firm strives to achieve, which is to improve the quality of life of citizens through better governance, right? There are a lot of things to talk about what we do and how we do it. And I think it's best done in the form of a video that we have created that talks about our work and how we have gone about it. So I'll ask Venkatesh to quickly share that video. It's a 6-minute long video. I hope you all get a sense of the work that we do, and then we'll proceed to talk more about the governance challenge. Yes.
Introducing Sangeeta, Shivansh and Sarita. Sangeeta is a small-scale farmer in the Puri district of Odisha who earns a little over 1 lakh per annum. Shivansh is a grade 3 student in the Unnao district of Uttar Pradesh who is a grade competent student. Sarita is a contractual Group D employee in the Rewari district of Haryana who currently avails a monthly salary of roughly 15,000 rupees. But the lives of Sangeeta, Shivansh and Sarita weren't always like this. A few years back, Sangeeta dreamt about having a better life for her family by being able to increase her annual income. Similarly, Shivansh dreamt about performing well in his class by being able to easily read and solve basic maths. And Sarita, she dreamt about getting her monthly salary on time.
Sangeeta, Shivansh and Sarita are not alone. Almost each and every Indian aspires for a better tomorrow. At Samagra, we have made that as our mission, to improve the quality of life of citizens through better governance. For far too long as a country, we have had a lot of potential. It's high time now that we realize that potential. If you have to become a developed country or a Viksit Bharat by the time we turn 100, it's imperative that we meet the aspirations of our 150 crore people. We firmly believe that governance is a key lever of change. We also believe that if India has to transform from a governance perspective, it has to be state by state by state, with Government of India playing an enabling role. Therefore, we are focused on working with the political executive and the bureaucratic leadership across states in India on deep system reforms or systemic transformations. We started off with a very different model, which was we used to work with MPs and MLAs and support them with different aspects of constituency development. So, जहाँ से भी वो elect हो रहे हैं, how do you facilitate development in that region? So, we started working with MPs across party lines in 8 different states in the country. This was 2013, 14, part of 2015. The larger learning from that phase was state is where you can really conceptualize, design things, and at the same time have a very direct control on implementation. So, we pivoted in 2015 to our current model, where we work with the political and the bureaucratic leadership at the state level. Our approach over the years has been a combination of 3 things: a top-down management consulting approach for problem structuring, a very grounds-up understanding of the governance ecosystem for solution design, and appropriate use of technology and data to enable the large-scale implementation of these solutions. We really believe when these 3 things come together, that's when magic happens. And this approach is manifested in the day-to-day working of our teams.
Our USP in working with governments is threefold. First, the ability to come up with practical solutions that are implementable at scale. Second, the ability to drive large-scale change management in government system. And finally, the third, the ability to leverage technology to push the envelope in governance.
We work with the state when there's a clear pull. That means there's political will on a topic and there's a bureaucratic champion who's been mandated to drive the transformation. Once the pull is there, then we co-create a transformation roadmap together with the state. These transformation roadmaps are often a combination of policy unlocks, administrative or management levers, technical or domain-specific interventions, and technology enablers. And then we are there through a 3 to 5 year period to catalyze the implementation of this roadmap till the time statewide measurable outcomes are achieved and things become sustainable in the system.
Based on this model, over the years, we have worked on 25 plus systemic transformation programs cutting across geographies and domains such as agriculture, school education, benefit delivery, skilling and employment, healthcare, financial inclusion, and so on. For instance, our work in agriculture in Odisha has impacted more than 75 lakh farmers in the state.
In 2018, there was an outbreak that affected most of the state's paddy crop. We're working with Samagra. They started to register those farmers. And now they literally have a control center. You know, when you walk in, you think, wow, this is agriculture. But, you know, you've got a command center and maps and people doing queries and sending out messages. You know, I felt very much at home.
Similarly, our work in Haryana on benefit delivery impacted all the 2.7 crore citizens of the state.
गौरव गोयल जी का अपना एक बहुत बड़ा सहयोग इसमें हमको मिला है। चीज़ों को कैसे एफिशिएंट करना, कैसे फास्ट करना, कैसे नए आइडिया, कैसे टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ इसको आगे जोड़ना, बढ़ाना, इनकी पूरी टीम.
All our systemic transformation programs are powered by Samagra X, the umbrella under which we do all our GovTech and data gov work. We have also embarked on a Gov.ai mission through which we aim to drive at-scale use cases of AI in governance in India over the next decade. We really believe in the power of AI to enable personalization at scale and to meet the needs of our diverse citizens where they are. Beyond all of this core work, we believe that the best minds in the country are needed to solve the complex governance challenges that India is facing today. Towards this end, we are driving a couple of ecosystem initiatives that are aimed at galvanizing the young, bright minds of India towards the governance space. The Governance Challenge is one such initiative. It is a unique competition targeted at students studying in the topmost postgraduate institutes across the country, which sensitizes them towards the governance space in an immersive manner. Code for GovTech or C4GT is another such initiative that is catalyzing a community of open source contributors and connecting them to organizations that are either building or adopting digital public goods across the country.
Over the years, in collaboration with governments and multiple other partners, lives of Sangeeta, Shivansh, Sarita, and crores of citizens like them have been impacted through our work. And now we are focused on making our contribution towards the Viksit Bharat. Come join us in this journey and commit yourself to nation building. As we say at Samagra, राष्ट्र निर्माण के यज्ञ में हमारी भी एक आहुति होनी चाहिए.
Cool. I think so that gave you a good glimpse of basically what Samagra is and what we do and how do we do it. Quickly coming back to the governance challenge now, right? And which is where we are today. So Governance Challenge is India's first governance-focused competition. The genesis of this, something that we also saw in the video, But essentially, the idea was that as India is moving towards becoming a developed nation, right, and Samagra is doing its bit by working on creating impact at scale. We also wanted the young minds of the country, the brightest minds of the country, to be solving the biggest problems that the country faces. And to that end, what we wanted to create was essentially a competition which gives the youngest minds of the country an immersive experience of how this problem solving at scale is done. And that is where the governance challenge was born. The idea was to galvanize India's young talent toward the governance ecosystem. Right? Now, why do we want to solve all of these problems through governance? Essentially because of three reasons. The first one is that there is a constitutional and an electoral mandate on the governments to work towards improving the lives of citizens. Right? The second, the government has unrestricted access and control over a lot of machinery that works towards creating impact at scale. Right? So be it administrative officials or be it a lot of systems that will enable this systemic change are controlled by the government. And third, the government can also leverage a huge network of partners to be able to do at scale implementation, right? So it could be working with the government of India, or it could be working with a lot of private partners to create this large scale impact. The government has the ability to do that. And hence governance becomes the primary lever of change when we want to impact the quality of life for millions of citizens, right? So that's essentially the idea of working with governance to improve the quality of life. Now, the last 2 years when the TGC was conducted, it's been conducted with 2 different states. And the idea every year also is that we choose a particular state and then we choose a particular domain within that state, right? So every year we have an anchor state and this domain. The first year in 2022, we conducted it with Haryana, where the topic was human capital. And in 2023, we conducted it with the state of Odisha, and where the problem statement came from the topic of women empowerment. In 2024, we are very excited to now be conducting this with the government of Uttar Pradesh, right? And this domain that we have taken up is artificial intelligence in governance. All of you have seen that how artificial intelligence has impacted many organizations and their operations. Now, we would really want and invite all of you to see how artificial intelligence can really impact governance and impact millions of citizens, right? Now, we'll come back to the TGC 2024 in a lot of detail later on, but let me quickly talk about the whole format of TGC. Okay. So the first is this year we have 36 different campuses who will be a part of it. Every year, the idea is that we get the best business schools and policy schools into this fold. We had 30 campuses last year. We've expanded that list to 36 this year to enable more participation, right? All of these teams from these campuses, they'll engage in 3 different rounds over a period of 2 months. The first round, which we are a part of right now, is the campus round, where teams of 3 will register from all of these select campuses, right? The teams will then submit their solutions to the problem statement in the format of a 2-page concept note and a 3-minute executive pitch video. All of these submissions will be made via the Unstop platform, right? And then finally, one team from each of these campuses will be selected that will go for the nationals round. Moving on to the nationals round, it's a completely online round where the select teams from this campus round, they will get to present their solutions to an esteemed jury consisting of a panel of IS officers from the state of UP and certain industry leaders who have been working in the space of artificial intelligence and specifically in the space of artificial intelligence in governance, right? So it's a 2-day event that is conducted completely online. But apart from this presentation to a jury, the participants here will also get access to 3 other things. The first one is that they'll get to listen to change makers. Essentially, these are people who have been driving change at scale through good governance, right? These could be ex-bureaucrats or people from the ecosystem who have been driving huge change in the system. In the past, we've had people like Mr. Amitabh Kant, Mr. Anil Swaroop, Ms. Anita Karwal, who have been impacting the country in different ways, right? The second thing is access to a panel discussion with people who have been working in this specific domain of AI in governance, right? And the third is this access to a panel discussion with people who are role models in the sector of governance, who have also had a journey in the corporate and then they pivoted towards the impact sector. So we'll get to understand more about their motivations of moving to this particular sector and what has been keeping them driven while they are at it. The 6 teams that will be shortlisted from the nationals round, will then go into the summit round, which is the finale, essentially, where the teams will get to present their solutions to the Chief Minister of UP. Now, in the run-up to that summit, every team will get mentoring from one mentor from the government, who could be a very senior bureaucrat from the UP government, and one person who's an industry mentor who would be CEO of a specific company within this impact ecosystem, right? Apart from that, just before the summit, just before the finale, the teams will get to do a 2-day immersion visit where they'll get exposed to how the state government and the district level governments work, right? The nitty-gritties of the governance at these two levels is something that everybody will get exposed to. And then finally, on the day of the summit, they get the opportunity to present to the chief minister. They also get an audience, which consists of a lot of implementation partners working in the state of UP, as well as a lot of impact investors who will be there at the summit, right? So that's essentially the format of the governance challenge. Now, you would be participating in a lot of different case competitions through the year. And why is TGC different? That's very evident, right? There are 5 key buckets where we have put it out. First, you really get to work on a real problem statement, right? It's something that is prevalent on the ground and really problem solving to solve this problem at scale for the whole state of UP. And finally, getting to present that solution to the chief minister of the state is a very unique opportunity. In the process, you're getting mentored by government bureaucrats, industry leaders who are working on, who working with you to create a feasible solution, as well as guiding you on how ambitious you could be, right? You get exposed and your ideas get exposed to marquee impact investors and change makers. These are people who have been really driving change. And you might also get an opportunity to work with them to actually get your solutions implemented on the ground, right? And finally, during the immersion visit, you also get a very immersive experience of the governance ecosystem. So it's not something which is very hypothetical. You're working away from the government. It's not that. You're really, really working with the government in certain cases to get some of these solutions implemented as well later on, right? It's a very real experience that is being provided at the governance challenge. Yeah. Now, coming back to TGC 2024, what's going to happen this year in UP is essentially this particular problem statement in AI and governance, right? Which has been defined as how can the government of UP leverage artificial intelligence in governance to improve service delivery in the state. So UP as a state has been committed to a lot of e-governance initiatives in the past, and they've also already started leveraging AI for a lot of things. UP as a state is also expanding the definition of development from just economic development to really focusing on socio-economic development. And hence, if we expand on this, the government of UP is really interested in 5 priority sectors where they want to leverage artificial intelligence to improve on the governance. And these 5 sectors are these, which are healthcare, agriculture, education, financial inclusion, and women empowerment. So UP is trying to look for solutions where they can leverage artificial intelligence to improve service delivery for citizens across these 5 priority sectors. Now, when you're creating your solutions, what I would want all of you to do is to keep 5 things in mind. The first one is that you need to select one of these 5 sectors, right? So let's be more focused and select only one of these 5 sectors where you would want to improve service delivery. The second is that you should propose, it could be one, it could be multiple AI-driven solutions, which are really practical, right? Things which can really work on the ground with the government, right? Let's not create solutions which will never work on ground. And we'll come to the specifics of what that means, the practicality part. The third is the solutions must also be designed for large-scale implementation. We don't want solutions which work, let's say, at a district level or at a block level. We don't want solutions which work only for a particular community or only for, let's say, a region, that this will only work in the Western UP, right? And not for the whole state of UP. So the solutions at the outset should be designed for large-scale implementation, and the rollout might be phased, right? You want to maybe roll out at a particular district level and then maybe scale it up to a scale, which is absolutely fine, but the design should be for a large-scale implementation. The fourth thing, and as we know, when working with governments and on most of these problems, we see that the solutions might take some time to scale, like I was saying earlier. But what is important is that you also very clearly articulate what could be some short-term wins in case your solution is something which will take time to scale, right? So don't look at only outcomes which will be generated maybe, let's say, 2 years from today, but what could be some short-term wins that can be demonstrated. That's important to highlight. And finally, the fifth point is that create solutions which leverage existing AI technologies. We shall not create solutions where we have some wishful thinking of some solution existing, let's say 10 years from today, but does not exist today, right? So focus on what exists today and how can that be leveraged to solve problems for the government is what we are trying to do. Yeah. The solutions, they have to be submitted in two forms. There's a 3-minute executive pitch video, and then there's a two-page concept note that needs to be created. Let me get into the specifics of these two very quickly. So let's talk about the video first. The video is a 3-minute video, and leverage those 3 minutes to really explain your solution well. What we have provided here is an indicative breakup of those 3 minutes. So what time needs to be spent on what thing is what we've articulated. You're free to obviously move this around a bit, but ensure that the things that we have mentioned here, they get covered. So what we have mentioned is in the first 30 seconds, you should be able to very clearly articulate the sector that you have selected and why you have selected it, and also the problem that exists within that sector, right? The problem that you want to really solve for. So put it out very clearly in the first 30 seconds itself. The next 20 seconds should also show your understanding of how the state has already been leveraging technology and AI in that particular sector, right? Because that is something that you would want to build upon, and that also gives the flavor of contextualization of the solution. So summarize whatever insights you have. If you believe that the government of UP is already leveraging technology, already leveraging AI in that sector, you should really put that out there, right? The next 100 seconds, which is the bulk of that video, it should talk about the more detailed idea that you have, which is a AI-driven use case for solving the particular problem that you identified, right? It could be one solution, it could be multiple solutions, it could be multiple solutions because you've selected multiple problems. So all of that is fine, but use these 100 seconds to really present those solutions well, right? And finally, in the last 30 seconds, you should be able to summarize what is the intended outcome or impact if the selected solutions were implemented, right? So these are the 4 parts. You identify the sector and the problem. You talk about what already the government is doing for solving that problem or in that particular sector by leveraging technology and AI. Then you present your solution in detail. And then finally, you summarize what is the impact that would be generated if that particular solution got implemented. Moving towards the format requirements. So first, the video should not be more than 3 minutes. So ensure it's under 3 minutes. It should be shot in a landscape format. And we'll encourage that the team members be in that video, but it is absolutely fine if not all of you are there. So even if one of you is there, it is fine. And the way to submit this is that you upload that video on YouTube, set the privacy settings to unlisted, and the YouTube link needs to be submitted on the Unstop page. So that's how this needs to be submitted. Yeah, so that's about the video. Moving on to the 2-page concept note that we have. So we have combined the content and the format requirements into one slide here. So on the format front, first it has to be a maximum 2-page document where you use the Calibri font at size 10. Margins for all sides of the page should be 0.25 inches and line spacing should be 1.3. So just adhere to these because that ensures standardization for us. Now, talking about what needs to be covered in those 2 pages, again, very, very similar to what we talked about in the video. The first 3 sections remain the same, right? You mention explicitly the sector that you have chosen, what are the problems that you've identified in that particular sector, then talk about the current situation on what UP is already doing by leveraging tech and AI in that particular space. And these might be some things that you might want to build upon when you're suggesting your solution. Then finally, talk about your very specific interventions or use cases that you identified for leveraging AI to solve for these problems. And also talk about the impact that would be created through these solutions, right? But the next 2 things that you probably did not cover in the video would be covered here in this 2-page note. The one point is feasibility. Why do you think that your solutions that you're suggesting, they are practical and implementable, right? That is something that needs to come out very clearly. And finally, the risks that you see when you go to implementation with these solutions and how could those be mitigated. So at max, 5 risks that you would identify and some mitigation strategies for those is something that you should also lay out when you're creating this. Yeah. Quickly moving forward to the evaluation parameters. Okay, sorry, before that, the last day for submission, as most of you know, is 11th of October, which is this Friday, midnight. So by then you should submit all of your solutions. On the evaluation, we'll be evaluating all of these submissions on 3 parameters: the quality of the solution, the feasibility of the solution, and the overall delivery of the solution. So your video and your 2-page concept note, the delivery of that is something that will also be scored. The third point is fairly clear. Let me talk about the first two. What does solution quality and solution feasibility mean? Right? We've broken that down into 6 parameters, and let me explain them well. Right? So there are 6 key principles, essentially, that determine the probability of success of a governance solution. The first one is the socio-political desirability. Right? So whatever solutions that you come up with, just ensure that they align with what UP is trying to do. The solutions should be sensitive to the local population and the local needs, right? And they should not create some unnecessary controversy in the state. That's something that is needed on the socio-political desirability front. Second, we already discussed that, which is the implementability at scale. Whatever solutions you suggest should be implementable across the state of UP for all kind of communities, for all regions, right? So that's something that we need to ensure. The third is a win-win for all stakeholders, right? So whenever you're suggesting a solution, think of all stakeholders that would be involved. So let's say you pick up education as a sector, right? Think of everybody who would be involved. It could be students, it could be teachers, it could be the parents of the students, and it could be the government, right? Whatever solution you suggest should be essentially a win for each of them. Everybody should be gaining something out of that solution is something that you need to ensure. Fourth is the game-changing innovation part of it, right? So the solution that you take up has to be novel and has to be transformative. We don't want something which is just incremental to what the state is already doing, right? That also means that it is not necessary that the solution should be novel everywhere. It could have been implemented somewhere in the world. It could have been implemented in a different state, but it needs to be contextualized appropriately so that it can be implemented in UP. And it is novel for UP is something that you need to ensure, right? Fifth is the financial viability of this. So what I would encourage every team also to do is look at what kind of budget requirements would be there for the solution that you have suggested, right? If you're suggesting something for improving service delivery in health, we should make sure that the cost of implementing the solution should not be more than the health budget of the state, right? So those are some things that we need to take care of. And finally, national replicability. So while the solution has to be created for the state of UP, we should ensure that this is a solution that can be taken to any state with appropriate amount of contextualization and modification, right? So it should be replicable nationally in any other state or maybe even at a national level for all states. Yeah, so these are the 6 things which essentially determine the quality of a solution and the feasibility of a solution. Yeah. Coming to what's at stake here, what are we getting if we win it? So the first prize for the winner is 5 lakh rupees. The first runner-up gets 3 lakhs and the second runner-up gets 1 lakh. All these winners, they also have a PPI opportunity with Samagra. Yeah. Quickly looking at the timelines now. So we launched this on 1st of October and 2nd October is when the case study was released. Like I discussed previously, 11th October, which is Friday, is the final deadline for submission of your solutions. And 16th October is when we'll release the results for the campus round, where one team from each campus will be selected. On 7th and 8th of November, the nationals round will be conducted, which is completely virtual. Then 9th November is when you will get the result for the nationals round. After that, the teams will start getting one-on-one mentoring with their government mentors and the industry mentors. 27th and 28th November are the indicative dates for the immersion visit in Lucknow, where the teams will travel in person to Lucknow and then they'll be a part of this immersion visit. And then finally, 29th November is the summit, where the teams will get the opportunity to present their solutions to the chief minister and the impact investors. Yes, so that's the overall plan. Just a quick reminder again, please submit your solutions by Friday midnight. Yeah, and all the best to all of you. And yes, that's from my end. Happy to take any questions.
All right, folks, thank you so much, Ankit. Yes, before we take the questions, how many of you haven't registered for the event yet and might have just come in to check out what the event is all about, what the competition is all about? I would request Ankit, if you can just take the previous slide so that people can quickly go to the website and quickly register as well. So if any one of you by any chance haven't registered yet, the QR code would be in front of you, and you can quickly take out your phones, either scan this QR code, or alternatively just go to unstop.com and search for the governance challenge. Right, the bit.ly link is also there. I will ask my associate Pooja also to put in the link of Unstop here on the chat, so that it is easy access to anyone who is not registered yet, or if you feel that your friends or your colleagues have not registered, and you think that they would really be interested in such an event, so you can share it with them as well. Right, great, awesome. So now let's go to the Q&A. Mithilesh will quickly come to you as well, but before we come to you, there are I think a few questions which have come on the chat. Let us address a couple of them and then come to Mithilesh for the question. And folks, if you want to ask question, you can just either put it on the chat or you can raise your hand just like Mithilesh, and we'll be more than happy to take the question up. Right, I think one of the questions which has come recurrently is about the deadline. Right, so there are two dates. There's 10th October and 11th October. And people are a little confused about which date represents what. Right, so 10th is basically the last day to register as a team, right? And that is why on the flow also the 10th as a deadline is being reflective. The idea is that on the 10th 11:59 p.m. The registration will close, so no teams will be able to register beyond that, right? And 11th end of the day is when you can submit, right? So that's why there's a discrepancy, but the idea is 11th, that is Friday night, 11:59 p.m. is when we'll be closing the submissions. So I hope that is very crystal clear now, right? And if any one of you faces any challenge in submitting, please do reach out to support at Unstop, or even any one of us over LinkedIn or in any other place. We will ensure that there's no technical glitches or anything on the Unstop platform which occurs, right? Okay, another question is, so I think there was one question about the 5 sectors. So I hope all of you have access to the problem statement document as well. It's a 14 page long document, a lot of contextualization, and that's why it's a little longish document. But all these 5 sectors are actually explicitly mentioned in the problem statement as well. And I think one of the problems that many of you might be facing is that you may not be able to see the problem statement. That will only occur if your team is incomplete. And there are 2 definitions of incomplete teams, which basically means either you don't have 3-member team. So because we do not allow a single person to participate as a team, neither do we allow 2 people to form a team. It has to be 3, not more, not less. So either you do not have enough people, right? That is one scenario. The other one could be you have 3 people, but one of your team members has not accepted on Unstop that they want to be your team member. And that is why it is still an incomplete team. So I would request that all of you please ensure that you have 3-member team there. Ask your friend, ask any colleague of yours to come in and complete that team essentially, right? So these are the 2, I think, major questions, and therefore the 5 sectors, all of that will get cleared essentially, right? Now after this, I think let's quickly take question from Mithilesh. Do you still have a question? I think you raised your hand. Yes, you can unmute yourself and yeah. Okay, we'll come to Mithilesh. Gaurav, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I'm audible now.
Yeah, you're audible now. Yeah.
No, so actually on Unstop, if you see, the submit button is present on as a deadline on 10th October, and there is no submit button on 11th October. So
All right, no worries. Thanks for pointing that out. We'll just get that checked. But be assured, 10th is not the deadline. It's the deadline for registration. 11th is the deadline for submission. If there is some issue, we'll get it resolved. No worries at all. Right? Yeah. Gaurav, why don't you go next?
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. My question is, in the education sector, in the slide that you showed, it is specifically mentioned increasing the literacy rate. So, I mean, is the problem limited to solution which increase the literacy rate? Or we can have innovative, I mean, there are different problems in education sector, obviously. So, I mean, is it very limited to only one specific problem? The problem statement, I mean.
No, Gaurav. So that's only indicative. There could be multiple other problem statements, and just like you saw that in education, with every sector we have given a very indicative problem statement. But you're happy
Got it.
to engage with any of the problem statement in the particular sector that you see. Yeah. And
Great.
that's also one of
Great.
the key
Thank you.
things from a solutioning perspective, right? Which is why we're asking you to very, very clearly lay out the problem statement itself that you identified for yourself. That you select a particular sector and then you identify the problem statement that you believe needs to be solved for and can be solved by leveraging artificial intelligence.
All right. I'll take a couple of questions from the chat and then we'll come to the next person, Rashmi, who has raised the hand. So the next question is, how deeply should we demonstrate our understanding of AI in the context of governance? Should we focus more on the conceptual level or should we go into a technical deep dive as well? So Ankit, would you like to take that?
Yes, sure. So no, we don't want to go into the absolute depth of the technical solutioning of it, right? But it would be good to have an understanding of how this particular solution would be implemented. What would be the cost of implementing this particular solution, right? And how would it work really? So we need to have a conceptual level understanding for sure, but you'll need to go a bit deeper to be able to explain, let's say, to the jury of how this particular solution will be implemented and what would be the cost of it. So that level of understanding needs to happen. Otherwise, I don't see anybody needing to go into the technical implementation part of a AI-based solution. Hope that answers the question. We can take
Perfect.
the next question maybe.
Yeah, next question is about the video to be created in the first submission. That okay, so I think it was clarified by Ankit, but the idea essentially is that you can be on the screen. One or many of your team members could be there. It could be all three. It could be all just one of them. We are not mandating that you create a presentation or you do not create a presentation. It's up to you. What we're going to see is, but ensure that it's not a voiceover, right? Because a few of you asked that can we put a voiceover only? No, right? At least one of your team members should be, because how would we otherwise know that whether it was you or a friend of yours who delivered the final presentation? So the idea essentially is that at least one of you should be there who is delivering this the presentation or giving the oral articulation, but does not have to be backed by a presentation. It could just be the way we speak to each other, as simple as that in terms of the video. The next question is that does the solution need to be new, innovative solutions, or the solution can be built upon improving the existing initiative by the UP government?
So I can take that. So it has to be new for the government of UP, right? And if it builds on something that the UP government is already doing, then that's really appreciated, right? Because that also shows that you understand what's happening in UP. And if it is new for UP, it does not mean that it is new for the world. It is possible that it might already be implemented in Singapore or maybe in Estonia or maybe even in Karnataka, right? But it is still new for UP. And the way that it is implemented, it builds upon something that is actually being already done in UP. It's perfectly fine. It still continues to be a new solution for the state of UP.
Rashmi, why don't you go next? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. I was just wanted to ask about the video submission that we need to upload our video on YouTube with privacy settings. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yes, sure. So essentially, on YouTube, when you upload any video, there are three settings that you get. Right? There's a short 5-minute video which we have also added onto the case document itself to tell you how you do that. But very simply put, when you upload any video, there are three settings. There's a public setting, there's a unlisted setting, and there's a private setting. Right? The idea essentially is that if you put it private, only you can see it. If you put it public, the world can see it. If you put it unlisted, basically anyone who comes to your YouTube will not be able to see it. But if you share that video link with anyone, they can see it. So that is the unlisted is what we are basically referring to, so that when you share that video with us, we can quickly click on the video. We can go to YouTube and see your video without anyone else being able to see the video. I hope that clears it out for everyone. Gagan, you may go next, please.
Am I audible? Yes, Gagan.
Yes, thank you, sir. So I just wanted to ask, as in education sector, there is already been something done in UP, and there is already a app like all the section trend or the teachers are using it. So can we pick up that and like figure out what needed to be done, and wouldn't it be like shorten our idea? Will it work, or we have to be like we have to start from scratch and then present it?
So Gagan, like I said earlier, also it is not necessary that you create something from scratch, right? It can build upon the things that UP is already doing. But I would still encourage that it be transformative in nature. It should not be just incremental in nature, right? Something that the government could have already figured out at their own end, maybe in, let's say, 6 months from today, right? We don't want those kind of solutions. We want something very, very innovative. And if it leverages something that is already existing, it is absolutely fine. Yeah.
I hope that answers, Gagan. You may, put your hand down. Thank you. I'll take a couple of questions from the chat, and then we'll come to you, Neha, for the next question. I think there's one question about, could you please elaborate on the concept node part? How should the data on concept node be represented?
So some important data points I think you can mention in the concept node itself, right? But if you have a lot of backend calculations that you have done, you could always link that to your document. So don't put out all the calculations in the concept node itself, but maybe a link to a sheet which is at the backend, which shows all the calculations. That should absolutely be fine.
There's one question that which sector out of the 5 is currently highest priority for the state as per the research done by Samagra?
So these are all the 5 high priority sectors for the government, right? The government was also not able to choose one. And hence they're inviting solutions on all 5. So this is all in discussion with the government, and the government prioritizes all of these 5. If you would look at the budget allocations to all these 5, even that's been increasing continuously. So yeah, solutions in all of these 5 are invited, and there is no specific preference among these 5.
Yeah, in fact, I think a few of you are also asked that how do we choose a sector? The idea essentially, so basically the idea is that it could be as simple as that you want to work in that sector, and that is why you have picked up. So there's no need to come up with a priority matrix to see the cost benefit analysis and then come up with a sector. It could be just that you want to solve for that sector, and that is why you're choosing it. So there's no exact science for choosing the sector. It could be as random as that. Next question is, how deeply should we demonstrate our understanding of, I think this is already taken up. What is the scope for creating the video submission? Are we allowed to be very creative, or does it have to be a PPT and the team member presenting is preferred? So I think no guidelines, right? You can go as creative as non-creative. At the end of the day, it is going to be what you are speaking is what we are going to listen to. It might even be that we might just direct the judges to close their eyes and just listen to what you're speaking, right? So you can go gaga into whatever, but for the sake of equalizing the same in terms of creativity skills, we are just going to focus on what you're speaking rather than anything else. Everything else is something which we leave up to you. If you want to do that, it's great, right? But it's not like that if someone creates an amazing PPT or a motion graphic designed video is going to kind of take away from someone who's just coming and speaking and just talking real deal. Basically, that's the bottom line, I would say.
But we're evaluating on presentation delivery as well, right?
Yes, exactly. So the content and the presentation delivery is there, but the idea is that if you come up with a great infographic, it's not going to make a big difference in terms of the final output. Next is should the solution involve single sector solution or multiple is acceptable? I think we mentioned that it has to be single only. We are not in fact please strictly refrain from having multiple sectors. Not even 2 will work. You have to choose one and just work on that, because over the time we would expect the final teams to actually go into the depth of the solutions, and therefore we want to ensure that you are able to create something which eventually the UP government or any of the implementation partners is able to take up as an implementation, right? So it's not just theoretical superficial things that we're looking at. We're looking at something that eventually after the summit round may get implemented by the government. There is one
But just
question.
to add to that, I think it is absolutely fine if you take up multiple problems within the same sector,
Yeah,
right? So if you
yeah.
have multiple problems within within education or within healthcare or within women empowerment, it is absolutely fine. There is also a corollary where maybe you are suggesting a solution in, let's say, education, but you see that there might be some trickle-down benefits of it on health. So even that is fine. But try and refrain from selecting multiple sectors and suggesting solutions which work in isolation of other sectors, right? So that should not happen.
Okay,
Makes sense.
Shreyashi asked, can there be an integrated solution? I think which is like if you are working on a particular sector and it obviously has a spillover effect to other thing, I think that's natural. These sectors are never in silos. Like for example, if you're working in education sector, it will definitely have an girl child education will be a subset of it in some way or the other, right? So those things are okay. Next is date of submission, which is 11th, which is a concern because it is the 8th day of Navratri and family and friends are busy honge. Abhilash, taking that into consideration, we'll see if we can do something about it. But as of now, the date remains at 11th itself. Thanks a lot, and thank you for reaching out for this query. We'll put this under consideration for sure. I cannot commit anything as of now, Abhilash. All right. I hope that makes sense. All right. Okay, there's one question. Are you okay with all members participating in the video as well as solo participation? However, would you please tell us which one do you prefer? You see, if you are able to see at the end of the day, it is the kind of delivery and the presentation that you make, right? If you are able to do that with one person, kudos. If you're able to do it with three people in a very innovative manner, that is also there's no right answer to this. I think anything works as long as you're able to deliver what you want to talk about in that 3-minute time frame. And again, one important thing, we are very, very, very particular as any other consulting firm, particular about formatting, very particular about adhering to the guidelines. If it is a two-pager, it is a two-pager. It cannot be 2 page and 1 line. If it is a 180-second video, at max grace we can give is of 2-3 seconds, not more than that. Right? So please ensure that, because otherwise you might work your throughout the night and everything for 5-6 days, and if it is a 190-second video, and we might just reject it even without watching it. So please ensure that adhering to these things to the T. Okay. So some of you have exams next in the coming week. Okay, duly noted. We'll see if we can do something about it. But as of now, it is 11th is when the deadline. I'm sure all of you are either, or all of you definitely master's students. So you are very much accustomed to juggling between multiple exams, multiple classes. So this is something which I'm sure that all of you can pull it off.
I think Neha is still waiting with her hand.
Yes. Yeah. Hi. So sorry. I think missed that. Neha, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, and it's totally fine. So good evening. My question was, to what are the expectations and to what depth do we have to explain the financial viability of our solution? Because it was something, a challenging part of our brainstorming process. So I wanted to know about the expectation on that part.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that question, Neha. I also tried to explain that earlier, but let me just take a crack at it again. The idea there is basically that the implementation of the solution for the whole state of UP should be financially viable. It is something that can be done, right? Give you an example, if you suggest a solution where you're distributing a smartphone to everybody across the state, then that does not seem to be financially viable for the state, right? It also has a lot of other implementation challenges itself, and we'll probably not be taking up that solution, right? So you think of how you can make that palatable. What are the kind of financial returns that the state generates from it? What are the kind of social returns that the state generates from it? And how can they really justify the spend on that particular solution? That is something that you need to come up with, right? So not just maybe financial returns, but even social returns or developmental returns overall from a particular solution. That's something that needs to be justified. So yeah, take that into consideration. And again, the overall budget for a solution cannot be more than, let's say, the budget of the whole state or the more than the whole budget of that particular sector in that state. So those are some things that you need to keep in mind. Again, how do you come up with that financial viability is totally up to the teams. Calculate what could be some one-time expenditure, what could be some recurring expenditure for the solution to be implemented for the whole state, and then take a call if that seems to be financially viable.
Harshdeep, why don't you go next? You can unmute yourself.
Hello, Venkatesh. My name is Harshdeep Ahuja. I'm from Team Samanvay. So I just had a doubt as we are working on the problem statement and solution, which is connected to UP. So will it be okay if we present the solution and problem statement in Hindi language, or we have to go on with the English?
As of now, I think we're only accepting solutions in English. It is okay if you still submit, let's say, the video in Hindi. I think that should be fine. But the concept note, it's best prepared in English only.
Hope that answers your question, Harsh. I think there's one question that okay. So again, mentioning this, like though there are requests for extending the deadline, there's no guarantee that that will happen. But if it does happen, it will be extended for everyone. So even if you have submitted in time, you'll if there is some extension, it will be applied to you, and you can resubmit these solutions also. We did that a couple of years back, also in one of the governance challenges. Okay, there's one question about the two-pager concept note, Word document or PPT format. It has to be a PDF format, right? So neither of those. It is, so you can create it in a Word document and you can then convert it into a PDF and upload the PDF document there. Okay, there's one question by Sarthak from IIM Raipur. Can we shed light on how short-term wins can be demonstrated? What should be kept in mind formulating such short-term wins? Yeah.
So yes, so the way to look at it is that, for a particular solution to reach full scale, it might take a couple of years, right? To give you an example, let's say we are saying that a comprehensive, and this is not an AI-based solution, but I'm taking a very generic solution. To improve, let's say, the quality of teaching in the state of UP, we might want to implement a solution where you're essentially training all teachers and providing them better material. Right? This will not yield any results immediately in a year, right? This will take some time for us to train all teachers, for them to use the material well, and all of that. But maybe you will start seeing certain smaller returns within the first year itself, where you will see that a pocket of teachers have started demonstrating better results, right? Some students have already started getting better outcomes. Right, so that kind of a win should be something which should be demonstrated. Or there could be certain teachers in this span who have gotten trained first and are already maybe the better teachers across the country. So they're getting better teacher awards from the country, right? So you were seeing that, multiple teachers across the state get awards, but now UP stands out there because more teachers from UP are getting there. Right, so those kind of smaller wins should be visible, because that gives the government the trust that they're moving in the right direction. Otherwise, they will keep doubting over a period of a couple of years or 3 years that are we even moving in the right direction, and they just might lose momentum. And hence, just identifying what could be certain things that are indicative that we're moving in the right direction and we'll finally achieve the results that we intended to. That is important. Yeah. So I'm not going into more examples, but I hope the idea is clear that to sustain that momentum in the government, you need to show certain intermediate outcomes, right? That if this is achieved in 6 months, then we know that we are on track to achieve the larger outcomes over a couple of years or over 3 years.
Perfect. I think we have one question. Does the document need to be text only, or can it include infographics?
I'm okay with infographics personally, and I think nobody would have a problem with that. It's just that you will generally find a 2-page size to not be enough to include infographics if you have enough information. So be just ensure that you do not cross 2 pages. right? And you cover all the things that we talked about, your understanding of the problem statement and why you chose a particular sector, what is happening in that particular sector with respect to AI and tech, what is your solution, what is the impact of it, what could be some risks associated with it. So if you cover all of that and you still have more space in your document, just go for those infographics. That's fine.
Yeah, and just one disclaimer, because a lot of time people think that maybe a concept note is replaceable with a two slider. It's not. So you're not expected to create a two slider and then use that to present and make the video. That was, I think, one of the things that last time we saw a few teams do. So I'm mentioning it again, that please do not do that. Concept note is a concept note, right? It's a very, I think there's no there's only that much limited definition of a concept note that you must adhere to. Can we provide ideas of other authors? If yes, should we provide reference?
Absolutely. You can leverage other solutions, you can leverage other research, you can leverage the work of other authors. Feel free to use that. I think most of you will do that when you're referring to a lot of numbers, right? When you're defining a problem in the state of UP. I don't think everybody would have the capacity to do a primary research, and hence you would use secondary research. I would recommend that you do that, and whenever you do that, provide the reference, because that might come up as a solution, as a question from some of the jury members, right? So yes, please do that.
All right, folks, any more questions? I think we have taken the question in the chat, as well as the people who had raised their hands were able to ask questions. We are also almost on time. We have a couple of more minutes to go. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or put it again in the chat. Yes, Nikhil, and for others who joined a little late, we will be providing the recorded version of this video as well for you and your friends to refer to again. So if you or your team members were busy in some other engagements, you can definitely watch the recording of the video. How should we submit the video solution? Concept note will be okay. So I think Mayank, you might have joined late. I'll reiterate for everyone. On Unstop, you will have two particular submit options. One would be for a PDF, so you can upload the concept note as a PDF document. The other one would be that you need to put a link of a YouTube video. The video that you create, you need to upload it on your private channel as a unlisted video, not a public video, right? Unlisted video, and then share that link that the YouTube generates for you. I hope that's clear, Mayank. Yes, I think we've addressed this. You can use creativity, you can use editing. Yes, you can do that as long as you are able to deliver it in a proper manner. You're able to talk about what you intend to. Is it possible to include exhibits in the concept note if they exceed 2-page limit? So I think, Ankit, I think what they are even asking is that can we put in maybe an appendix of sorts beyond the 2-page limit?
I would discourage that. I would say that provide a link to a separate document. If, let's say, the evaluator has time and would want to see beyond what is mentioned in the concept note, they would go there. But ideally, the solution should be only 2 pages and don't go beyond that.
Yeah. Is it possible to include exhibit? This is, I think, done. Then, okay, Bhavesh will take your question, but I think I think Bhavesh has 2 questions.
I think there are 2 different Bhavesh.
Okay, they do. My bad. So sorry. Should we not use a concept note in background while making the video, or can we use a PPT slide in background while making the video? So yes, the idea is that you can basically, we are not putting any constraint of how you make the video, as long as one or multiple members of your team members are present and explaining the video, right? Refrain from using AI for making the video, refrain from using a voice over software to talk about things. It has to be one of you at least who is explaining. Now beyond that, whatever you do is up to you. You want to use creativity, you want to use presentation, you want to use just you want to use some infographics, it's all up to you in terms of how you want to present. We're not putting any constraints or whatever there. I hope that answers your question, Bhavesh Jaiswal. Next question from Bhavesh Bisht is that he's curious about the career in impact sector. Okay. Ankit, would you want to maybe give a minute to this question.
There
Many
is
of
a lot of there is a lot of content that is available on Samagra's handles about careers and impact. We'll also be doing a whole panel discussion where we'll bring in role models from this sector, and they'll share their own journeys about how they pivoted from a career in corporate to a career in impact, and what have been their motivations, what attracted them towards this, and all of that. Let's see if we can maybe make it public, that particular uh, panel discussion. But yes, definitely a lot of content is there available on the Samagra's handles, on Samagra's YouTube channel. You're invited to just look at that. But we look at the other option about making the panel discussion public.
Gaurav has asked, no careers available in Samagra as on website.
Not right now, yes. But whenever that happens, I think everybody will get to know. Plus, there is a PPI for all the top 3 teams, so that's the other thing.
All right. I think there's one last suggestion that if we extend the deadline, please share the information with enough prior time so that we can invest. Yes. If it happens, we'll let you know in a timely fashion. Definitely. All right. I hope that is it. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this Ask Me Anything session and asking questions. I feel that a lot of you are really invested into the problem statement and the competition already, which is very heartening to see. And would love to go through all your solutions when it comes. And 11th is a deadline. I'll reiterate for everyone. If you haven't completed your registration process and completed the team, please go do today itself, right? So that you have enough time and runway to create the solutions. And thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for attending the session. Looking forward to interacting with you in the future, as well as I am sure that a lot of you would again be meeting us when we do the nationals round, when we have shortlisted the submissions, essentially. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
All the best, everyone. The team is really excited to be here. The team is really excited for this competition and for all of you guys making it to the next rounds. And yes, hope to see some of you very soon in person as well.
Yeah. You may put in the link of LinkedIn so that if anyone wants to.
Venkatesh, we couldn't hear you properly. Maybe you want to go again?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry. Basically, if you want to follow us on LinkedIn, Pooja will be putting in the LinkedIn link on the chat, and you can quickly just click on that and follow us on LinkedIn so that you can connect with us also separately for any questions or queries outside the AMA.
Cool. Have a great evening, everyone, and thanks again for joining. Yes.